So on the last video, I stopped after I calculated transportation. While the video was uploading, I went ahead and completed the chart. And what it showed was my actual was 1,000, my projected was 880. I spent over 112. And then this was my actual, this was my projected, this was my actual. I went over. Here here's my projected of how much I was going to pay on my credit cards, but I only spent this, so I put 254 someplace else, and you're going to notice that it's going to be used. And then my projected for childcare was this, and I had to use childcare more, so I had a deficit. Church, here's my projected, here's my actual, so I have a deficit, but I didn't put anything in savings because it had to cover what I needed. So if you look, when I did housing and groceries and transportation, childcare and church, I went over, but then I made sure that I didn't pay some on my credit cards and I didn't put anything in savings. So I was under on those categories, so it balanced out. So it says, how well is Alex sticking to his budget? Sometimes he goes over, sometimes he goes under. Is he able to keep up with his bills? I would say not really, because every time he doesn't do this debt, he's accruing more interest, which means it's going to take him longer to pay on that actual, that credit card off. Okay, so number 5. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to come back here and we're actually going to do the percentage of actual. Okay, so the percent of actual. And remember, the percent is part over whole. Over whole. And so our part that we spent on housing is 1,000 over, and remember our total was 2960, and when we do that it's 0.337, and we need it as a percent, so it's 33.7%, but we're going to use whole numbers and we're always going to round up, so that's going to be 34%. So we're going to do 34%. Okay, this was for housing. And then for groceries, okay, for groceries, we're going to do 800 divided by, again, the total, because that's the part over whole, and 800 divided by 2960 is 0.270, and so 2, and I'm going to say that that is 28%. And this is going to be 28%. That's going to be 28%. And then I'm going to shut off the video and continue filling this out in orange. And we're going to use that. But how I'm calculating it is I'm taking my part and dividing it by my whole of my actual. So I am going to show you, instead of using 33.7 when I rounded it up to 34, that's going to cause it to be over 100%. And if I had 0.2702 and I caused it to be 28%, and I keep doing this, anytime I round, it's going to be a little off. That's why this is over 102%. If I wanted it more accurate, I would bring it out to the hundredths value. So I would actually say 37.71, and do it that way, it would get closer. So anytime I round, I'm going to be a little bit off of 100%. The next question is, over the weekend, one of Alex's kids falls out of the tree, breaks his arm in the emergency room, is $650. How should Alex adjust his budget to pay for the ER bill? So you're going to have to come up with, is he going to buy less groceries, travel less, pay less on his debt, put his kids in daycare less, give less to the church, or put less in savings. You're going to come up with a plan and justify it. Notice I did not adjust housing. Housing is hard to adjust because if you have rent, usually rent is a fee that you have to pay monthly, and it is not flexible unless you want to get behind and then actually causes problems, because then you have to pay late fees. So I would suggest when you're adjusting things, housing is not something you can adjust. Maybe groceries, you buy cheaper food or food that lasts longer. You can adjust groceries and other things. So in here, you are going to, for your prove it, you are going to have two scenarios to do the exact same thing for two people. And then what you're going to do is, on a third budget, is I'm going to give you a set amount for you to go and purchase food at McDonald's. And so you're going to fill out a chart, and the closer you are to spending the money at McDonald's, the better your grade's going to be. Please fill it out concisely so I can see exactly how you're doing it, and watch the rubric and follow the rules on the rubric.